I think that the ALF, the Animal Liberation Front, is probably, has in recent years, probably been one of the most effective, if not the most effective element of the animal rights movement.
What's ALF?
This is Anne Berlin, speaking on behalf of the ALF, here to answer Kurt Johnson's questions about our movement and where it's going. The Animal Liberation Front consists of small autonomous groups of people all over the world who carry out direct action according to the ALF guidelines. Because non-human animals lack political power, speciesism will be harder to overcome than sexism or racism. And there will always be a need for people to take direct action to protect animals from abuse, just as there will always be a need for people to intervene, regardless of the consequences, in all other forms of domestic violence. But we'll know that our work is nearly complete when the public's understanding of animal sentience reaches the point where people accept that violence is just as acceptable to use in defense of animals as it is in defense of human beings. Although the ALF has always been underground, the USA and the British government's recent terrorist label may be a sign that the animal liberation movement can no longer be ignored.
I used to think ALF was that puppet on television. So I was like, oh my God, the puppet's going after them again.
It is common for the ALF to keep possible targets under close surveillance. When the farm closed, ex-Shamrock employees were unknowingly under close scrutiny at all times. These specialist vehicles were pulled to France, where it was discovered that they had been purchased by HLS to import primates. The ALF struck again. The specialist vehicles were destroyed by fire.
The Animal Liberation Front actually also came from the United Kingdom. A guy named Ronnie Lee, way back in the 70s, had a little run-in with the law over some arguments he had about animal rights. And even though he started out as more or less a peaceful kind of protester that would do just the stand around with signs and shout and get arrested and that sort of thing, he had some personal experiences that led him to believe that violence was really necessary to do what they wanted to do, which was essentially get rid of all animal enterprise. So what he figured out, though, was the model that we've seen ever since, and that is if you just do the crimes, the public has no idea what's going on because it's just a scattered kind of, here's an arson, there's a big vandalization of something or another. And he figured out that you have to have an above ground, not connected with, and can't be criminally prosecuted for what it's doing, mouthpiece for why you did the crime.
Whenever there's an underground action, we tend to issue press releases and talk to the media about why those actions occurred and what the thinking was behind them, what the ideology and philosophy is.
I'm starting to receive lawsuits in the name of the Animal Liberation Front, and I keep having to explain to lawyers that I don't know who these people are. I don't participate in the activities. I just report them. It's no different than the press. If the press is reporting a rape, are they responsible for the rape? Do they speak for the rapist? No, they don't. So all I'm doing is passing information along, a conduit of information. And it's an important conduit of information because these people can't speak for themselves. And someone needs to explain why these actions are occurring, why these people feel so strongly about animal liberation that they're willing to put their own lives and their own liberty in jeopardy in order to accomplish a goal.
The mechanism to keep the above-ground people from being prosecuted actually is pretty intelligent. They figured out what the rules of evidence are, and if the above-ground people only receive copies of, let's say, stolen documents or photographs of the crime instead of the documents themselves, if they don't have anything that's stolen but only copies of it, a prosecutor can't touch them in the United States.
You know, ALF is not like a command post somewhere, like a terrorist organization. ALF is the spirit in America that probably existed around 1772, you know, just before the big one. And it's a widespread feeling that there is an injustice And sometimes the only way to cure injustice is to take direct action.
The Animal Liberation Front can be anybody at any time. If you abide by 4 guidelines and your actions are guided by your conscience to help animals, you're the Animal Liberation Front. The Animal Liberation Front consists of anybody from school teachers to clergy to lay people to lawyers to doctors to students, anybody that goes out in an autonomous cell and they commit a so-called crime to help animals. That's the Animal Liberation Front.
We're not a highly organized guerrilla unit. I wish we were, but we're not. We're people just like you. You know, some people say, oh, we're doctors, lawyers. I'm like, well, that's not the ALF I was in. You know, we're shoplifters, college students.
Good evening, Joe Smith. What are you doing tonight?
Nothing.